Hello all, welcome to the 8th episode of Sectalk with Rohit Srivastwa. A pretty interesting week. A lot of malware related activities happened across the week, and we will cover up a few today. But the one which was most interesting one was a pre-installed malware on more than 5 million Android phones. And these are not uncommon phones. The brand which are affected by this were Honor, Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Samsung, Xiaomi, and a lot of other brands. All of them have claimed that this is a supply chain issue. Someone in the path of the manufacturing of the phone has installed that malware. So the malware is called as Rotten Sys. The interesting part of the malware is it's a very advanced malware and is very hidden in nature, and it hides itself as a system Wi-Fi service, a tool basically to help you access the wireless network easily and help you in other wireless related stuff. The interesting part is the malicious activity of this malware remains silent till the phone is active. The moment phone is activated, this guy starts acting, and it's not a malware per se, it's just an unwanted application. But then from there, being a dropper, it downloads the actual malware and then captures a lot of things. And the majority of the bad activity which this guy is doing is ads, pop-up ads and full screen ads, and a lot of malvertising as we call it. So in last 10 odd days, more than 13 million times it was popping up the ads. And if you talk about the clicks, it had more than 5 million clicks already. So that's a huge number when it comes to malware click done by users. So interestingly, so if you want to prevent such kind of issue or solve such kind of issue, a good antivirus on your phone is a must now. I was meeting a few people and I saw a few low-end mobile phones, some of Oppo, Vivo and Honor kind of phones, including Reliance Jio's Life phone. These phones are already pre-installed with so much of bloatware that with those fancy animations and stuff, they stuff the phone with unwanted applications. And even if it is not done by them, the ad pop-up on these are so frequent that accidentally people end up installing a lot of tools and a lot of unwanted applications on their phone, and which actually makes the phone slow and doesn't give the better performance. But that's the way situation is. So I'm sure the listeners in Sectalk are very smart and they take care of their phones very well. But next time you meet someone who is technically little less smart than you, make sure you look at their phone and help them clean their phones. It's really messy ecosystem out there. Moving on next, remember we discussed about cryptocurrency clickjacking malware called as DeFi Foil. So DeFi Foil had already infected more than 500,000 devices, and the biggest chunk of spread of DeFi Foil was identified this week, which was coming through a malicious update of a BitTorrent client called as MediaGet. So if you have MediaGet installed for all your torrent activities, make sure that you have checked that you have not a malicious update. Otherwise you will end up using your computing resources and power, electricity, etc. to mine cryptocurrency for someone else. Make sure you are safe on that end. Next up is about text editors, and old fanboys of Linux, they always fight between what's better, a Vim or an Emacs. I know there's a lot of geek jokes around that particular choice of text editor. I won't tell you my choice of text editor, otherwise it will go into a flame war in itself. So all those text editors do come with variety of extensions and plugins. Now interestingly, except Pico and Nano, if you look around at Vim, Emacs, Sublime, Gedit, etc., there were extensions and plugins on top of these text editors which were found vulnerable, where a critical privilege escalation could be achieved on your machine using those extended plugins which you have installed. So make sure you have chosen your plugins very carefully, the way you have chosen very carefully your text editor. Make sure your plugins are always well selected and they're coming from a trusted source. Interestingly, the bug was majorly towards a folder permission issue, and that allowed arbitrary code to be executed, and malvertisers started using it. So for all Linux users, make sure that you have your HIDS or host intrusion detection system enabled. You can use OSSEC or any other such utility to enable that intrusion detection system, which will help you out in safeguarding you and your favorite text editor from these kind of malwares. Another story which caught a lot of attention from the processor manufacturer side was about Meltdown and Spectre. So a firm called as CTS Lab, they reported a similar bug in all the AMD processors, specifically to the Ryzen Pro processors, which are used in laptops and mobile phones as well. So it includes a backdoor, just like a Meltdown and Spectre issue. It is a really serious one. But what's more interesting in this particular case is the eyebrows raised towards CTS for disclosing this. So as a general responsible disclosure policy, the researchers give 30, 45 or 60 days notice to the vendor to fix the patch and then make the news public. But in this particular case, AMD had altogether total 24 hours. And because of that, a lot of eyebrow raised and people were talking about this. But at the same time, CTS claimed that it's important for the users as well to know that this kind of bug exists. That will pressurize even the company to come out with the patches early. And CTS said they are still, so in this whole report, they redacted a lot of information so that the actual problem cannot be found and exploited by the attackers. But at the same time, people know that AMD processors are vulnerable to a similar kind of an attack. So even further discussion to the same thing, the kind of bug these AMD processors have and the previous Intel processors had, the chances are other processors may also have similar kind of bug. So if you do not have Intel, do not have AMD, it's not that you are pretty safe and nothing will happen to you. But such kind of things are possible, and people are working on that to fix it as soon as possible. Next up is another malware. This is called as PinkKite, and PinkKite is a very small and a powerful one. So our editorial team called it as PinkKite took a flight. A very small as 6 KB in size, and it was available for point of sale terminals. And in point of sale terminals, it is used to steal credit card data. Now, interestingly, with any of the regular malware, which credential stealer kind of malware, you would always see a command and control center, wherein in this case, they were actually using 3 clearing houses to upload the credit card data to work as their command and control center. And these clearing houses were in South Korea, Canada, and Netherlands. So remember those Windows XP embedded systems used by a lot of POS to do shopping transactions and billing at different malls? This malware was using SVC host and ag.exe to get as a backdoor and then stay there as hidden malware to copy the credit card data being swiped on that particular machine. It also uses learn algorithm to validate the credit card numbers which was capturing. So these are compressed packages, and each compressed package was capable of capturing more than 7,000 credit card numbers in each. So use of this clearinghouse is likely to be a mean for the attacker to keep little bit of distance from a POS terminals. So as of now, we don't have any information about malware creator or operator. No data available on how many credit card was stolen till now by this, but it's pretty active and people are really working to figure out a right solution to that. So that's all I had for today, but I actually didn't want to cover this particular news, but someone from the social media got in touch with me and we discussed about this whole case of British and Russia right now fighting for a former GRU spy and an attempt of assassination of that spy, which goes by the name of Sergei Skripal. He and his daughter were in a mall where they were tried to be attacked, and they were given nerve agent to, so that's a chemical attack to kill people, which was more active in Russian market. So people had guessed that it was Russia's act for this one. And so basically, Skripal, his daughter, and a first responder who ran to help them, three of them are in very critical condition right now. And this whole thing took a lot of geopolitical news, geopolitical noise around it. So in reaction to that, British government actually expelled 23 Russian diplomats out of the country. Tit for tat, Russia also expelled 23 diplomats out of their country, and this whole thing is going on. And so there was more of a geopolitical issue than a cyber thing. But then the kind of the way the discussion went ahead, I said it will be good to cover it in the Sectalk. What has happened is Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Britain, she threatened that there will be retaliations to these. Now, what could be the retaliations? The first one in speculation were like stopping or cancelling the license of Russia Today, the popular RT news agency in UK, and then if that happens, Russia will cancel the license of British broadcasting companies who are in Russia. So that's a mutual fight. But a lot of cyber war is expected around this particular news, wherein people have speculated that Britain might go ahead and do DOS attack and other kind of cyber attacks on Russian web assets. And if that happens, a retaliation will also come from the other side. So this is now connected to another news which I heard, where the CEO of FireEye, the popular cybersecurity company, he accepted and claimed that if such kind of cyber war happens, and his focus was majorly towards US, but he said very categorically and clearly that if Russia and US go into a cyber war, US will lose and Russia will win, where the majority of the reason or the biggest reason for that is exposure of American assets online and dependence on the internet. So that's where it's happened. A lot of things are happening around cyber warfare. I've met a lot of researchers and senior people who say that cyber warfare is not the right word, or maybe it's not happening and it's just a media noise around that. But I am a firm believer that cyber warfare do happen, and if this is not cyber war, then what is? Look at the whole Patriot, not Patriot issues, Ukraine, Russia. So US is retaliating against Russia for the use of NotPetya as a Viper malware to clean data at Ukraine and log PCs, and then it went viral. It infected everyone, including a lot of Indian agencies were affected by that particular malware. If this is not cyber warfare, then what is? So with that note, we are at the end of the 8th episode of Sectalk. Hope to bring in more questions from outside, and let's see what other people are asking about and if we can cover that in the news. Thanks a lot for being with us so far. We are at the 8th episode, trying to do even better content every time. So this time I've taken a special photograph with my editorial team, so I will make sure I'll put that on social media sometime. So people behind this camera who take care of the activity with the content and other stuff, I'll make sure I'll put that photo also. Thanks a lot for all your love and support. Keep writing to us and sharing the episode with everyone. Thanks a lot.